So now that we're live, I can play everyone's favorite.
The canned music?
Yeah. We gotta have something to put us in a good mood.
Maury Mathis,
my God.
Jr., Melvin Gordon, Champ Bailey, Raymond Smith at one point, CJ Anderson, Isang Bassi, Ryan Dawkins, Jerry Rice, Peyton Manning, Len Martinez, Skip 16, 14 Sutton, 13 was KJ Hamler for a bit, 12 Monto. Oh my gosh, it's too fast for me.
It's too fast.
No way. Cutler, Prater, Keenum, Wilson, Surtain, Elam. There we go. How about
we
that?
Got him.
I just gotta say last names.
Last names.
When the number comes up.
Yeah, that's how we can do it. I got a last name for everybody. How about this? Joseph. All right. We're Monday.
Before we move on, Cecil, I do have a bone to pick with you for your post-game show last night.
Okay, go ahead.
Your continued insistence that Vance Joseph wasn't going to be the defensive coordinator by the time we did this show. What was up with that, man?
Frustration. You're going to call me out for being frustrated? That's an odd way to start Monday morning. Hey, you're frustrated. Why? You have an opinion. Why? Tell me why Vance Joseph should be the coach. I put it on Twitter that he wasn't going to get fired.
Yeah, so, it was the way it was interesting. Maybe it was just because I was listening to the show at like 3 I actually put the YouTube show at like 3 a.m. when I was finishing my drive back last night. And I'm just like, I thought, boy, this is a real leg to go on. Like Vance Joseph's going to be fired. You kept saying it over and over. And I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, no, he's not. I think you wanted that to happen,
yes,
but it's not happening. And honestly, like, I know it's bad, but this started happening, the path to this, long before Vance Joseph returned to the Broncos.
That's why it was a lose-lose for him to ever come on board. But opinions are like alohas. Everyone's got one and they stink. But Vance Joseph is not good. So, yeah, they kept him. They were going to anyway. I tweeted that at halftime. It's the realm of the lowest common denominator. But it's like, yeah, they didn't make a move today. They're not going to make a move, everybody. That's what you get. So why on post games am I emotional? Mace, they got their ass kicked by 50. They got 70 points dropped on them. So yeah, I'm going to be emotional. Apologies, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a weird way to start the show, Mace.
Oh, I've been stewing on this for a while, but like it was sort of like the way you kept declaring it, like it was going to happen. Like I've got no indication it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. I'm like, oh man, I'm not sure I would have climbed out onto that branch there. That's just me.
Okay.
You know,
is there something wrong with that? Again, this is kind of weird, but like, is there something wrong with that? Is that should I not be emotional? I said it, like I don't have any inside information, but he's going to get fired. Like,
I guess even when I'm emotional, I'm a little bit quicker about or a little bit slower to declare something's going to happen or not going to happen. So, and also when you're on the spectrum like I am, you tend to take things a little more literally. And so I probably heard that in the wrong way.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. How are you then?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this. There are a lot of thoughts I have on that game. I'm just going to start with a very simple thought, and I'm going to bury the lead a little bit. I was personally disappointed that they didn't try to set the record with a field goal or try to get a touchdown, because honestly, as it got to 70 and Miami was driving again, I thought, man, I might see history here. Is that right? Is that bad of me? Like it's selfish to like be thinking in those terms. Like I might see history, and in some ways, I think the humiliation was more profound that they called off the dogs.
Yes.
In the final minute, they took a knee on 4th down rather than put the field goal on the board that their fans were screaming for.
Yes.
First it was they were chanting, "We want more, and then we want 3, and then. It was the only time all Sunday that those fans down in South Florida were in any way disappointed. But I think about that. I also think about this, and Rachel Vigil asked me this morning. I can't extricate from my mind the sight of so many Broncos against the run looking utterly helpless. Miami absolutely dominant, firing off the snap, play after play. That wasn't an NFL game when Miami's offense faced Denver's defense. That was like Ohio State taking on Colorado Mesa, right? Just two schools on completely different levels with completely different calibers of talent. It was that dominant. I mean, I've never seen an NFL team defensively up front in a game get so utterly manhandled as the Broncos were yesterday.
Yeah, and for me, it's not necessarily helpless. Mm-hmm. It's disinterested. Like, where's the heart? And I'm not promoting anyone throws punches, but like, where's the won't back down, won't be humiliated? Where's the fire with this team? Where's the discipline with this team? Players out of position, whether I blame it on Vance Joseph or whatever, but the effort and tackling wasn't there. So you say helpless, I'll say disinterested, because they didn't look like they wanted any of it. And it's not like they were facing Derrick Henry. Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane are both speed guys, but they didn't want any part of that.
Well, I think also, I mean, I hesitate to use a word like disinterested, but I thought fundamentally things were poor. I mean, you saw a lot of guys sliding and trying to make tackles and missing. I think Pro Football Focus, the calculation they had was 24 missed tackles. The first two games combined, by the way, 19, which isn't great, but 24 missed tackles in a single game. I think there were a lot of errors of positioning and execution involved as well. I don't think a little more fight would have greatly changed the outcome. In fact, actually, one of the things you look at over the course of this defense so far this season is that they haven't been disciplined. We've seen pre-snap penalties. We've seen unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, right? I'd say, if anything, the fire has burned a little too brightly at times during the season. It's got on the defense, and it's gotten this team in some discipline and some pre-snap discipline, and then some 15-yard penalty trouble over the course of this year.
Well, I definitely don't need to see Delarian Turner yell celebrating after a tackle when they're down by 30. Like, that's stuff that we saw yesterday, and it's those type of plays. Like, I get it, the energy. Didn't we just start the show about passion and emotion? Like, emotions run high when you're getting your ass kicked, but there's also a realization of like, you've got to be better. And attention to detail, we'll probably do more of this tomorrow, but attention to detail is something to really dig on with this team defensively, because those were interesting words from Sean Payton today.
Yes, attention to detail in practice. And then the other thing he said, and it was not to pat myself on the back here, but it was the question that I asked of him. Look, you and I, we're concerned about solutions, right? And I literally included the word solution in the question that I asked. And if I can just find it here real quick, he said, quote, "The attention to detail of what we're doing at practice has to improve. We as coaches have to look closely at what we're asking them to do." So I think that's actually pretty profound, to be perfectly honest there. That we're not just we're talking about the attention to detail, but we're also talking about what they're going to demand as coaches. Are they going to simplify things perhaps? Are they realizing that there are certain concepts that this team isn't prepared to handle? That's a big can of worms right there.
Yeah. That's a 3-hour show going through that.
These two things, Cecil, might be a big part of what we're discussing the rest of the week and what we're asking players about when you and I get back in the locker room on Wednesday afternoon. Because I mean, I did ask Marvin Mims Jr. about it. I did ask Quinn Miners about it as well when they were on conference call. I mean, I think, what does that mean to these guys? Like when you hear something like that, attention to detail, like what does that entail? I mean, I think, and also, what does this end up doing in terms of tactics, scheme, how the lineup looks? We got a brief indication of that yesterday when we saw them come out in a 4-3 to start the game, right?
That was very interesting. More Drew Sanders, which meant more mistakes. And I give the kid a pass. Like, you're going to have to do that. If you're going to play the young guys, you're going to have to deal with that.
You're going to live with some mistakes. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you can see the energy and you can see the speed, but you can also see he's not always in the right position, and sometimes he's flailing. I mean, one of the touchdowns, it was missed tackle Drew Sanders, missed tackle Essang Bassey. It was just, I mean, you're going to have to live with some of this right now. With Drew Sanders, at least he's a rookie. With Bassey, you are talking about a 4-year veteran. And that's another thing. As you start figuring out who's going to play and when, how you're going to divide up the reps, some of it's going to be asking, okay, has this player gone as far as they can? And do we have to turn the page and go to a player who maybe has a little bit more upside? Like I do wonder, for example, and you're going to live with some mistakes, but I do wonder in a few weeks if we're not talking about Riley Moss playing extensively in the secondary, just because, okay, it's time to start finding out what he has. He's not ready for an extensive role right now. He's basically only had 2 weeks of practice working in that defensive scheme. He was active, but it was all special teams yesterday. We talked with Riley Moss on Thursday about kind of what he's got to learn, what the process is like for him on the practice field, and that may be something where you just have to kind of buckle up and hope for the best and ride out the bumps. That also means accepting rebuilding.
The weird thing, and we're going to get to the rebuilding talk because that's what this team needs to do. But the weird thing is when you're down by 50, and I wish that was an exaggeration. Why not more Jaleel McLaughlin? Yeah. Why not more of the young guy? Why not more Marvin Mims? Like when you're down that much, and I don't necessarily even have an issue with putting in Jarrett Stidham, not because you're going to replace Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is not even the problem. He's not the answer, but he's not the problem. Like way down the list of problems with this team. But when you're down that much, maybe you come out after the half and you figure out, oh, we're not going to have a second half surge. Get evaluation on the young guys because you're thinking about seeing history. You know what I was thinking about yesterday?
Yeah.
Man, the locker room's going to stink. It's already a little touchy with some. Zach Allen's not real friendly in the locker room. I've said that before. I'll say it again. Like, we love talking to him, but he's not real warm. I don't have to be buddy-buddy with guys. But I was trying to form questions.
He's cordial and professional, though.
To a certain point. I was trying to figure out ways to form questions without being incredibly offensive. You brought up the tackling, and I was like, how do you work on tackling when you don't tackle? Like, how do you improve as a tackler, as a defender, or as a defense? How do you improve on tackling when you can't tackle in practice? That's a way of highlighting, hey, you had 24 missed tackles, whatever the number is.
Mm-hmm.
How do you fix that? Like, why weren't the young guys playing? Why wasn't there just this realization? Like, it's time to put in Stidham, not permanently, but just for that moment. It's time to see more Jaleel, not permanently, but just in that moment. That's football 101, and we didn't see that.
Yeah, it's funny. That's the second time that subject has come up today in a conversation that I've had. I don't have an issue with Sean Payton keeping the first teamers out if he's trying to prove a point. Like I think Rachel mentioned this morning the notion of was it disrespect? No, not particularly. No, and I don't think that's the thing. But I do believe that when it's 56-20 in the fourth quarter, or 63-20 or whatever, that it is an opportunity to learn about young players and also not risk making the day worse. I mean, Mike McGlinchey in garbage time, left briefly, right? I mean,
I thought they were in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as yesterday was, you know what could have made it worse? Pat Surtain being out there in coverage in the final moments and getting injured, right? Russell Wilson getting injured.
Javonte shreds his knee again.
Yes, I mean that, and for that reason, plus this saying, okay, we're going to take this bleep storm of a moment here and try to use it to some benefit, and the benefit being let's get some practical evaluation on some young players. Absolutely, I would have had McLaughlin out there in the fourth quarter. I would have had more Marvin Mims Jr. out there in the fourth quarter. Would have even if with what limited knowledge Riley Moss has after only 2 weeks of practice, would have thrown him out there for a bit. Jaquan McMillan, get him some reps. Just go on down the list, and I would have been like, okay, play. You obviously can't go with a full lineup of backups because of the limitations of the game day roster, but absolutely you should have been playing a lot of the players down the depth chart to take advantage of that. And yes, including Jarrett Stidham, because the way the protection is, at some point, you have to expect Russell Wilson may miss a little bit of time because he's injured, and the more reps Stidham has in his back pocket, the better. Like, I love the reps that Jarrett Stidham got in the second preseason game at San Francisco with the first-team offense. I thought that was a great idea, and because you might need him to run that offense at some point. So same reason, would have loved for Stidham to get a few reps there at the end.
And it doesn't mean waving the white flag or you're giving up or whatever. I always think office space, what's best for the company, like what's best for the Broncos. Getting Jarrett Stidham reps when you can. He's not going to replace Russell Wilson unless Russell Wilson's hurt. He shouldn't replace Russell Wilson unless Russell Wilson's hurt. Jaleel McLaughlin should get more reps, like on and on and on. So he kind of did it with Sanders. Moss was on the field. Some of these young guys, Mims. Can we just play Marvin Mims, please? Special teams is so good. And that's the frustration. I'm going to get emotional again, Mace. Get ready. The frustration is you see the guys who fight. You see the guys that can make plays, and you see the unit that is the best coached out of both sides. And it's really good. And special teams hasn't been good around here for a long, long time.
Yeah, fixed one problem, and then the defense became the other problem. I mean, right? Special teams had a great day. There are a lot of guys playing with energy over in that phase. It's also an exceptionally well-coached unit. The interesting thing about special teams, though, like if you look at the structure of the coaching, you've got the second in command to Sean Payton there and Mike Westhoff, the assistant head coach. And then he's seen everything, 75 years old at this point, right? Like he's got a lifetime of experiences. And then you have special teams coordinator Ben Katwika, who he doesn't have obviously the same level of experience of Westhoff, but he's still a good and even an ascending coach in what he's doing, and he's pretty good at what he does. And then you have a guy who just retired from his playing career, who kind of is that connection to the locker room because he was just playing last year, and that's Chris Bancho, and he's learning how to be a coach. It's really kind of an ideal structure of governance for that unit, right? If there's any issues with understanding concepts, you got someone like Banjo who can kind of be that bridge and connect, help the players connect the dots because he understands everything. It's a very carefully structured unit, and after the hiccups of the first game, it's been easily the best unit on the team the last couple of weeks. I mean, there is some hope there. Here's the problem, though. If you start changing who's playing on offense and defense, that means you're going to have some guys that don't have as many special teams reps. Like if you give Marvin Mims more offensive reps, all of a sudden he's probably not your punt returner, and you have to find another solution. So what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do if you're the Denver Broncos? It's Orange and Blue today. We're presented by Sean Ponda, and yeah, emotions run high, especially when I'm talking about Vance Joseph, who I don't like, and I said this on the postgame, Mace, like I don't like talking about guys getting fired. I don't like saying that after week 3. Like he should be fired. I want him fired. He's going to be fired, whatever. Like, can Wade Phillips be hired as a consultant? The Rex Ryan stuff is dumb. 2 rules in life. Don't be dumb. Don't be in a cult. But like the Rex Ryan stuff, that's dumb. He keeps talking about it. Like he's lazy and a blowhard, and like they don't need that. They need answers. And Vance Joseph would be open to having his mentor, one of them, Wade Phillips, like around as a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Couldn't hurt, right?
Right.
I have no indication that's going to happen, but it couldn't hurt.
Well, what's the answer then?
Well, it's deeper
Because
than
firing Vance Joseph would not be the answer.
No, it's deeper. And first of all, this is the thing. If you fired an assistant coach after 3 games, that makes it really hard to attract coaching talent in the future, right? Because all of a sudden the notion is going to be, well, what chance am I going to get? They gave Vance Joseph 3 games. I know the fans want the head on a platter, but it's just on that reason alone, it's not wise. The other thing is this. What happened Sunday was the culmination of a great many things that have been happening for a long time. They've accelerated in the last several games going back to last season. This was not a good defense in the last 3 to 5 weeks of the 2022 season. It wasn't by any measure. It really the thread that got pulled was trading Bradley Chubb after the 8th game, and you
which
see
is odd because he's a solid player, but I wouldn't say like he's an impact star, gotta have him type of player. But that one piece caused the domino effect.
Yeah, and you still don't have Baron Browning back, and he's a pretty good player, but he's not a cure-all when he returns. And it's just it's even like you can go back to years of to previous years of misses in the draft and in player acquisition. It's still not a deep unit that the Broncos possess, and that isn't on Vance Joseph. Vance is in a bad spot at a really bad time right now, but this isn't entirely on him, and that's why I think what a 50-point loss can do is it can really cause some reflection, right? Because you sit there, you just had the worst loss in franchise history in terms of, giving up 70 points. You just gave up more points than any team has since 1966. But in the bigger picture, Cecil, you've lost 19 of your last 24 games. And that's under 4 head coaches and with 5 offensive play callers and 4 starting quarterbacks, okay? This thing is bigger than, in terms of causing it, this thing's bigger than the current coaching staff and the current players in the locker room and the current administration. It's bigger. There are a lot of fingerprints on this. And when you see the struggles compounding for such a period of time, like that 24-game sample size. I say 24 games because, Cecil, do you remember what was going on at the start of that 24-game stretch when the Broncos went in to play the Bengals at home, and the Bengals were 7-6, and the Broncos were 7-6?
They were both teetering on the edge of the postseason, and someone made it to the Super Bowl, and someone didn't make it at all.
Right. It was very much the two trains that are going in opposite directions. Y'all remember that SAT question that you had back in the day, right? And this was the moment when they met in the 14th game of the 2021 season. And it's just fascinating to kind of see where things have gone since then and how far downhill they've gone. But that's the thing. It's big. It's bigger than Vance Joseph. It's bigger than Nathaniel Hackett struggling in his only season as head coach. It's even bigger than the Russell Wilson trade, right? And I think it offers a chance for some reflection and analysis on where this franchise, from a football perspective, truly is.
Well, and when rebuild needs to happen.
When you confront that, you can attack it. And I think so much of what the Broncos have done over the years, if you look back on it, and this is going all the way back to the post-Super Bowl years, they've made short-term moves. They've put Band-Aids on wounds that required stitches. and they have been a little bit blind to what actually needed to be done. They've treated a lot of symptoms, but they haven't treated the root cause.
You say root, I'll say DNA. The DNA of this team is corrupt. And that's why a rebuild needs to happen. That's why you strip it down to the studs.
Yeah.
And there's problems that go so deep with this team. We don't have enough time to get into it. If we did each show every day this week on that, it still wouldn't be enough time. But the losing culture, and it doesn't mean the players are losers or whatever, but there's this mentality, and you saw it on all those run plays where guys are just like, I'm not going to try. Like, it's just, here we go again. And as someone who's a big believer in positive thinking, what you think about, you bring about. And if you think, here we go again, guess what's going to happen? Here we go again.
Well, it happened last week too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're up 21-3. And I think back, the moment that sticks with me is it's not the touchdown and Kareem Jackson's ejection. It was after Washington got the ball back in the final seconds and managed to get another field goal, right? You had a free play, and Sam Howell took advantage. Nice pass down the right sideline, boom, field goal. And then you're sitting there in just a matter of moments. It's gone from 21-3 to 21-14. It's gone from a 3-score game to a 1-score game. And you got the sense, looking at the players, you could feel it in the stands. It was here we go again. Like, I can't get that thought out of my mind, honestly. Like that they go to halftime and the lead's already been sliced into substantially, and of course they come right out from the locker room and go 3 and out, right? That when one thing goes wrong, everybody has that sense of fatalism on some level.
Why didn't they take a shot after the turnover on downs? Yeah. You know what I mean? Is that part of the mentality? Because football 101, again, you and I have been around this game long enough. When there's a turnover, even if it's turnover on downs, the next play is a shot play. So they get the ball on their 34, whatever it was. They get the ball, and I'm thinking, take a shot. And then it was like a penalty. I think it was on McGlinchey. And it was going to be a toss play to Javonte that would have went for like 2 yards. What?
Well, I mean, you don't
embolden your team. Take that shot.
But you can't always take that shot there, right? Because then that's what the opponent expects.
It's better than a toss play to Javonte. Like, that didn't make any sense to me. Like, you got to show some teeth, and maybe that shows a belief in your players. I've said it before. I don't think Sean Payton is happy with everybody. I think he's got some players, but he doesn't have enough players. And this is a compilation of bad draft picks and bad free agents. And the guys that you did pay a bunch of money to, unfortunately, we talk about Zach Allen. He's not playing well. DJ Jones, who I love, he's not playing well. Josie Jewell, when he's not hurt, is not playing as well as he could. Like, I just had higher expectations for guys that are well paid and leaders on this team, and we haven't seen that.
There are no gold stars anywhere in the front seven for what we saw yesterday.
Oof.
There aren't, or anywhere on the defense in general. But the front seven in general, I mean, no. I mean, they're getting blown up play after play after play. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. But again, like it didn't start with these guys who are on the field, right? It goes deeper than that. 70 points on the board there, an awful lot of fingerprints on it. Yeah, that actually includes the offense because of the turnovers. I mean, that exacerbated things. Although it's a little bit flukish when Cortland Sutton has as many fumbles yesterday as he had in his entire career before that game. But still, it happened. That's kind of a quicksand thing that you're seeing. They say when you fall into quicksand, the harder you struggle to get out, the more you sink, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think Cortland Sutton, that second fumble definitely was, fighting hard for extra yardage, fighting hard to make the extra move, and then on the ground.
Yeah, and I put it on Twitter, the realm of the lowest common denominator, and I was like, I feel bad for Court.
Yeah.
And why he really sucks? And I'm like, I know the human Cortland Sutton, and I know how much this means to him. He's not playing well, but he was trying, man. And when he was trying, then accidents happened. And why isn't quicksand more of a danger than we thought it was going to be? You and I grew up in the 80s. Wasn't that always the thing? Like you turn on the A-Team or something, it's like, watch out, MacGyver, right? He's like, watch out for the quicksand. It never was. I've never ran into quicksand. How about you?
Never have either.
You've spent more time on the beach, right near the beach. You're down in Florida.
Now, you know what's an actual threat is rip currents.
Yes.
That's
scary.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Although, didn't they deal with that on Baywatch a couple of times? I don't know. Don't hassle the Hoff.
Right. I suppose there's a Hasselhoff reference for my hair someone's going to make in the chat room. But either way.
By the way, it's hot here. Man,
it's
sweating
hot.
I'm still down here in Florida. Like I'm sitting out here. I'm like, my gosh, I am pouring sweat. By the way, yesterday before the game, the Dolphins press box, if there's no one guiding you, is really hard to find. And so I end up going like up and down all these ramps. I walked around the entire stadium and all that before I got in. And then I get inside and I look down. I'm like, my shirt is just like drenched in sweat. There's a picture I did post on Twitter/X, whatever they're calling it these days. But I did plan ahead. I brought another shirt. I was prepared. The Broncos, not so much.
Not prepared. And I think it was a late night for both of us. And I usually, as a night owl, I'm up till 1 or 2 anyway. And I was up till almost 3. I don't like being awake at 3. That's the witching hour. And it sounds like you got home around 3. So it's like,
4:05 Eastern time.
Yeah. Do we look spent? Do we look tired? Yeah. And the best way to put it is the answer's not going to be easy. And it's not going to be quick. And I hate that. I hate that for these fans. All the fans in the chat room, you know what they're saying? Besides making fun of my hair, Mace, they're saying like they're not going to go to the game. They're not going to go to the Jets game. Like they're not going to support this team. They're not going to spend their money. And that's well within their right.
Yeah.
But I hate to be the bearer of bad news. There's no easy answer. Quick fix. Whatever.
Wasn't that no easy answer, no easy way out? Wasn't that one of the training montage songs in Rocky IV?
I love that one. Climbing on the side of a mountain.
It's a bad movie.
It's so good. Movie, so bad. It's good.
It's like the most 80s movie imaginable because you have these music video style sequences.
Push it to the limit.
You've got like the robot that runs around the house. We had that robot in my that type of robot in my gifted class that you'd kind of sit there and type in what you wanted to say and all that kind of thing. I mean, that movie is a timepiece, and it's terrible and it's cheesy. I mean, if I can change and you can change, maybe we all can change. Oh gosh. Anyway,
a message for all of us.
But I'll say this: to this day, there are like 2 scenes from 80s movies that I cannot watch that I turn away. One is when Apollo dies in Rocky IV, and one is when Goose dies in Top Gun. Like I can't when he strikes the canopy when they're ejecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I gotta turn away from the screen. Can't watch it. Can't watch it.
Gets all verklempt. What is it? Verklempt? What is it? What would Mike Myers always say? Verklempt, whatever.
Yes. When he went on a coffee talk with Linda Richmond.
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves. Here's the topic. The glorious revolution was neither glorious nor revolution. Discuss.
Oh, we have to laugh because this is not good.
We're just
we're trying.
As Jimmy Buffett once sang, if we didn't laugh, we would all go insane.
It's a good way to wrap up the show,
especially because I'm down here in Florida.
Right. Right, your parrot head.
I made a change in latitude, at least this weekend. Change in attitude. I'm working on that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We're all good. It is Orange and Blue today, presented by Sean Honda. He's Mace. I'm Cease. Thanks for helping grow the YouTube channel. What do we get? Like 20,000 views on that post game show? Like
yeah, a lot of people wanted what you were throwing down. That's part of the reason why I had to comment on it. Like, oh man, like I'm like, dude, I'm in my mind. I'm like, he's not getting fired.
He's not getting fired.
Stop saying he's going to get fired. He's not getting fired.
You can't will it into existence.
Oh man, I tried. Well, I don't root for people to lose their jobs either. I don't ever, and that's part of me. I can't advocate for that. You know, that's like that's my thing. So,
well, you're a better person than I can totally advocate for it. And it's going to happen eventually. Didn't happen today, and it may not happen next week, but the die is cast on this team. Sean Payton needs more of his guys.
And you know what, though? Here's the thing. It's very possible they win the next 2 games. You know that, right? Based on who they play, the Bears and the Jets. Very possible the Broncos get to 2-3. Reality is likely to provide a beatdown when you go to Kansas City on that Thursday night in October. So, but in screenwriting they call it a false dawn. The next couple of games might feel a little bit better, but I worry they might be a false dawn.
It's a good way to put it. I'd say get me to the trade deadline. What's this team's record? The next 4 games, probably 2 up, 2 down.
Yeah. And that's
get some ice water, baby.
Yeah, I know. It's 2-5, man. Again, gosh.
Yeah, you're 2-5. You're trading everybody.
I should have just stayed in the freaking pool, man. I was swimming. I wasn't really swimming. I was just kind of laying there.
You could do the show from the pool. You know that, right?
Maybe I'll do that tomorrow before I leave.
Yeah, you could just be up on the ledge, you know? Right?
Maybe. Oh, that would be different. I mean, the problem is I'd be afraid of the iPad going in the water. or dropping the mic or all that. I mean, I don't want to buy a new microphone. I like my microphone.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
All right, he's Mace. I'm Cease. We're out of here, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow. Wish we had easier answers. Anyway, everyone out there, thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty.